Hey guys, we're back again at Mr. Pop Talks Indoors, and I've got to say, I am so excited. We have with us today the wonderful Linda Pilkington. I say Linda Pilkington, not everybody may know who Linda Pilkington is, but we're going to find out. Now, Linda, welcome to Pop
Hello,
Indoors.
Peter. Hello from
you?
London.
So you're in London at the minute?
Yes, I live in London. I've been living here now for about 23 years, but originally I hail from Bowden in Cheshire.
Oh, well, I have to say, we might share a few stories about that a little bit later, but but what we want to know at the minute is a little bit about Linda Pilkington and a little bit about your background. So, yeah, tell us.
Well, hello everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm very excited and I hope one day to meet you all. I love Knutsford. I know Cheshire because I'm a Cheshire cat. I was actually born in Sale, Cheshire, and my parents went to live in Bowden. So my whole stomping ground is Bowden, Altrincham, Sale, Hale, Barnes, Hale, and Knutsford. So I was absolutely thrilled, as you can imagine, when we came across Pop, and we were, you know, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I could go back up to Cheshire. In Bowden, I don't know if you know it, but it's very quiet. It's a case of two pubs, the Griffin and the Stamford Arms, and the church. I'm straight out the church into the pub. So there's not a lot to do. And those cold, windy afternoons, my parents didn't approve of television. So we got into craftsmanship, my sisters and I. So we were quite good at making things. I was particularly good at making things, and I used to enjoy making room scents, scented candles. And then I suppose the little bit of the entrepreneur inside me, I used to think, what am I going to do with all these lovely things I've made? I'm going to sell them. So I used to go looking.
Linda, how old were you at this point?
Oh, like 10, 11 years old. Well, I was there till I was 17. So I used to go to the vicar lived next door to Bowden Church. So I used to knock on his door and say, like, you know, do you want to buy these room sprays? Do you want to buy these candles? I'd go into the Griffin. The landlord was Phyllis and Bert, and around the corner was Mrs. Arnold at the Stamford Arms. So I'd be selling all my stuff. And it was really just a case because I wanted to increase my pocket money so I could buy nice things for my bedroom. My parents had always said to me, yes, that's a lovely thing, Linda. Of course you can buy that for your bedroom, but you're going to have to pay for it yourself. So I learned very quickly, if I wanted something nice, I'm going to have to pay for it myself.
Oh my God. So at a very young age, you had an entrepreneurial mindset and understanding. If you want something, you work for it, and you go, this is wonderful. Now I know you've traveled a lot, and before the Ormonde Jayne business, and we'll come to that in a second as to how that all kind of got together. But before the Ormonde Jayne business, I mean, I read about and I see that you've traveled a great deal.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you've done some like crazy things with like ice cream and
no, exactly.
And I mean,
I had a very adventurous boyfriend at the time, and he had this desire to go off to South America. So of course, you know, off we went, and we were exploring and traveling. I soon got a bit bored because I can't really sit still for very long doing nothing.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe.
No. So I was on the phone to my mum, and I said to her, you know, I need to do something. I'd like to do so. So she said, well, it's so hot there. Why don't you make ice cream? And I just thought, that's brilliant. I should make ice cream. So I immediately, as soon as I put the phone down, literally got in the car, went to the local ice cream parlor, very carefully took down the names on the side of these ice cream machines to see what was the name. And they had Italian ice cream makers. And then they also had the soft ice, which comes from America. I took down the names, immediately went for a cup of coffee, got on the telephone straight away. I'd like to buy these machines. Then I realized that you actually have to buy ice cream recipes because, and by the way, the ice cream recipes cost more than the ice cream machine.
No.
And then I said to my boyfriend, I'm going to have an ice cream parlor. I'm going to find a nice shop here. I'm going to renovate it and I'm going to make the best ice cream. And that's what happened. That's what I did. It was called Zigolo 21 and it was called 21st Century. I quickly realized that nobody eats ice cream in the morning. So I changed the morning time to croissants and coffee. And of course, I still wanted to make money at night time. So I got an alcohol license. And by about 9 o'clock at night, the lights went down low and there was like ice creams for 2 and we could sell alcohol. So we were open from 8 o'clock in the morning till about midnight. So it was actually really hard work, but I really enjoyed it. And it was great.
Already there is, just by listening to that wonderful story, there is a, even from my point of view, I want to be there. I want to be there in your ice cream park. I want to be there at night. And that kind of links into the way we are with Ormonde Jayne. I mean, seriously, there has to be a spark in your mind, the development of Ormonde Jayne. I mean, we know that you've traveled and so on, but, where Ormonde Jayne, there must have been that light bulb moment, well, there
was definitely a light bulb moment. When I came back to England, it was because my mother was ill. I wanted to be with her. She passed away, and then I just thought to myself, it's time to hang up my traveling days and do something more serious. And so I got a job at an agrochemical company with 2 Japanese scientists, and it was just walking down the road one day to get my lunch that I bumped into a friend from Bowden who remembered me, who now worked for Chanel, fine jewelry, and he was like, it would be amazing if you could make those lovely candles that you used to make when you were a young girl knocking on my parents' door, because it would mean more.
So you got a friend from where you used to live.
Yes.
That is now working for Chanel. Remember your childhood creativity and entrepreneurial element, where you were making candles in your kitchen or at home.
I was amazed he remembered me. I was amazed he knew who I was when we walked down the street. I didn't even recognize him. When I remember him as a little boy, he had a tiny waist and lots of blonde hair, and suddenly he'd ditched the hair and he wasn't tiny. So, but as soon as he said, "It's Bruce," I went, "Oh my goodness, Bruce, hi." And he said, "You know what, in keeping with Chanel, we have an atelier in Paris. It would mean more to me if we had a candle made for us." He said, "I'm allowed to burn candles, but not in the clothes shop, in the fine jewelry." Fine. This took another 6 months. I was going backwards and forwards. Of course, I was working full time. My kitchen at home became like a little laboratory with Post-it stickers all over the wall. The color of the candle had to be the same as Coco Chanel's Chinese screens in her apartment in the Ritz in Paris. It had to be a certain shape. And also, which was fortunate for me, the Madame Sophie who worked for them, she had been married to Manuel Canovas, and Manuel Canovas also developed his own candles. So she knew what she was talking about, and she actually helped me a lot. Cut a long story short, after 6 months, they said, "Bravo, we'll take 50. I had to create an invoice. I wrote a very nice, elaborate letter in my best handwriting. I get a phone call from Croydon, the head office, not quite as romantic as I thought, Croydon. And then they said, this is an invoice. This is like a love letter. You've got to have a company. You've got to have a company name if you want us to pay you." So I got home, said to my husband, blah, 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 what should we do? And we were just cooking. And he said, "Well, you're Linda Jayne, and we live at Ormonde Terrace, and you've created this candle at Ormonde Terrace. So call yourself Jayne Ormonde or Ormonde Jayne."
Okay, so you lived where? You lived in London, or you had a place in London?
Primrose Hill.
All right, and it was called Ormonde
Terrace. Yeah.
And so we've got Ormonde Jayne, the brand.
Yes.
And the Jayne is?
My middle name, Linda Jayne.
So Linda Jayne Pilkington.
Yes.
And so you use the street name.
Yeah.
For the number one, and then so Ormonde Jayne.
Yes.
Here you go. I'll tell you what I have to say. The letter that you wrote in terms of the invoice, handwritten, this is my invoice. I want to charge you for 50 to Chanel. Do you realise that's now in a frame worth a fortune?
This was done in emerald green ink, and I actually bought a wax seal kit. So that when I sealed the envelope, I poured hot wax on it and did a seal on it, because I just thought it's Chanel. And then I just thought, oh, from now on, I'm going to pay all my bills like this. I'm going to pay my gas bill with a wax seal.
And now, so since then, I mean, obviously things have just gone amazing, and I'm going to say global.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, but I can't believe I'm actually speaking with you, Linda. But you are all over the world now. I mean,
we've got today 200 points of sales. It's not enormous, but the good thing is, one, we're still privately owned. It's between me and my husband. He's not actively involved day to day, but he's a shareholder. We're manufacturer today. We've moved out to Kent. We've got huge manufacturing practice there with 8 boys and girls, and they are formulating, filtering, pouring it into the bottles, boxing, cellophane wrapping.
So by hand?
They're all done. Yeah, none of it's automated. It's all done by hand. And I think the great thing is that from the day from that Chanel candle, this year it's 20 years. So I feel quite proud. After 20 years, I'm still independent. I haven't sold my company.
Amazing.
And Ormonde Jayne has got a very good reputation around the world. As you mentioned, we've grown rather slowly and very carefully. But like you, I know all the retail owners. So I have a good relationship with everybody. I know everybody. I love everybody. I know the growers in Laos. I know the growers in Thailand. I know all the people in Grasse. So I think it's great to have this relationship.
We're going to come to that, because I know I want that there's some questions. I mean, there's so many. Honestly, Linda, there's so many questions that have come through from our followers and our people that realise that Pulse Perfumery carry Ormonde Jayne, which is quite rare. But what if, here at Pop, the team love the product massively because we understand it. But if you had to talk to our customers or our friends, to describe the DNA, the type of fragrances. So what is Ormonde Jayne fragrance-wise?
So I was very lucky at the beginning. The first formulations I created was from a book called Pouches. And at the back of this book, there are written formulations. It's a very expensive book to purchase. I think it's over £1,000. In those days, it seemed like a heck of a lot of an investment. But I used to phone up perfume houses in Grasse asking if I could buy samples. And they were a bit reluctant, obviously, because I'm a small company, all the palaver, the paperwork and all this. So they weren't that interested. I managed to get the attention of a good perfume house in Grasse called Expressions de Parfumé. And I was able to start formulating. Now, these formulations were from the back of the book. So at the very beginning, the DNA was nothing more than spring jasmine, cedarwood. As time went on, I started to experiment. And it was through a conversation with a lady. She wanted to have a tuberose perfume made like Fracas. And I said to her, well, you can buy Fracas. You should have something more special. You should have something more unusual. So she was very excited, like what? So I said, well, I could find you a flower that is as heady as a tuberose, but not a tuberose. And of course, she was pinning me down there going, like what? And I said, well, I don't know yet. I'm going to find out. But I just thought to myself, this is a good idea. This is what will make Ormonde Jayne different. If I look for ingredients not widely used in the perfume industry, if I've got an alternative to what is the regular. So what happened was, ultimately, I went on a few travels. I'd go out for 10 to 12 days and come back. And sometimes I came armed with things, sometimes I didn't. But the idea behind Ormonde Jayne, if somebody came into the boutique and said, well, I love jasmine, I'd say, well, I have San Paquito. It's the national flower of the Philippines, technically related to jasmine. It's a much bigger flower. And then I'd give them the whole story. Oh, this flower came to be in that country, how it's distilled. And I would explain about every ingredient. I realized it was a very good idea to have, and I did get quite a bit of newspaper clippings. So, and at that point, that's when I met Geza Schön from Molecule.
Well, I was just going to say, Linda. I mean, basically, we here at Pop. I mean, having met you at the exhibition, I did actually meet you when I was a much younger man, and it was a book signing, a fragrance book signing in London, and you were there, and I, to be honest, I didn't know who you were.
Was that at Flores?
Yes, and I was. Well,
yeah.
well, I went. I was introduced to you very big, and I actually said to you, you smell lovely, and you said, yes, it's one of mine. Okay, wow. But here at Pop, we look, in July it's 1 year. One year, but I've got to say, the clients, both that know you, that have not been into or hadn't been into the shop before, realized or knew or were told that we sell this brand called Ormonde Jayne, have come in specifically for your product, and also customers that are into quality and fine fragrance and that have been introduced to your brand are coming back time again, and it's only in 1 year. So within our shop Pop in Knutsford, you're becoming a very, very well, and I know you're established all over the world, but I mean in a little independent shop here. Now, they love your stories, because when you came to see us, the early morning train or flight, the red eye, wherever you got here, and you turned up in a taxi, and the team are here, Danielle, Melanie, and myself are all here waiting for you, and you turn up, and apparently I saved your life. You
did, Peter. You saved my life, because, and I opened the taxi door to get out, and I breathed in something in the air. I think there was like maybe the particles of flowers or something, but something just got caught in my throat, and my throat completely closed up. And I do have asthma, but not really bad. And I normally have an asthma spray, but not this day. So I staggered into your shop going, this was our first meeting. So I was going, and you said, I've got an asthma spray at home, I can run home. You ran out of the shop, ran down the road, running back, going, give me the asthma spray. And I was going, and then I calmed down and I said, how do you do?
Well, I have to say, thank goodness for living very, very close to the shop. But,
I'd like to make an entrance, Peter.
Now, I've got competition here. My goodness. No, so seriously, and the one thing we do know, apart from the fact that our clients and friends and customers are really falling in love with you, with your product, and I also know that as part of what you've done with your fragrances, you're not, I don't know in collaboration, but you've met somebody quite famous, not as famous as you. No, I'm kidding. Called Geza Schön.
Yes.
How did that happen? I mean, he's quite an incredible.
Well, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. So he had read about Ormonde Jayne in the newspaper. He had just left Harman Reimer, which is a big outfit. He wanted to become like the head perfumer. They had kept promising him this, but it didn't come to anything. This is just like the start of the whole niche perfume movement coming forward. So he decided to leave, and he was going to set up at home in his own little laboratory, which he did. Now, in those days, you can't buy denaturized alcohol unless you've got a license, and you have to have premises and certain criteria. So he came along to the shop, and he was like, "Hey, hi, I'm Geza. Have you got an alcohol license?" So I said, "Yes, I have actually." And he said, "Could I have some alcohol?" I said, "Of course." I said, "This is where my studio is." As it happened, he lived right round the corner, 5 minutes from my first studio, literally. So I said, well, I'm on Lawn Road. He said, I'm like 2 roads down from here. Next day I go into work and he shows up. I give him a big container with 25 litres, and he's going, hey, can I work from here? This is great. So I said, yes, of course you can.
Just move in.
No, but he had created this perfume called Molecule. He wanted to launch it. He had to obviously formulate it, filter it, and pour it. And so he said, can I do this at your studio? And I said, of course, you're welcome. So I said, how long have you been in perfume? He said, like 16 years. So I said, well, this is absolutely perfect.
Wow.
I'm just starting out. And so I said, would you be prepared to help me? And he said, look, if I can work from here and use your alcohol license, yeah, why not? So we became really good. Well, we became really good friends. We went straight out to the pub, sat down, chatted, for ages, all about perfume. His idea of perfumery is like the complete opposite to mine, because, he always says to me, why do you make life so difficult for yourself? Why have you got to go schlepping up mountains looking for an ingredient? Why don't you just buy something from the fragrance houses? But so the very beginning, Osmanthus, Frangipani, Ormonde, Tolu, were the collaboration with Geyser. As time has gone on, like Privé and the 3 perfumes for Fortnum Masons, for Harrods, for Selfridges, we've created ourselves. Yeah, and we'll definitely make something for you. So we've started to create, but also, like as you may not know, but we've just launched the Route de la Soie, and this was not done with Geyser. This was done with me doing a workshop up in Grasse. So this took about a year. So we dip in and out. We have a certain palette that we like to work with. We've got a certain style. People recognize our perfume. So whatever we create for whatever store or for our boutique, people recognize the style of perfumery. It's very effervescent.
You mentioned one of the new one, which we'll talk about in a second, because it is something that Pulse Perfumery will be smelling very shortly in terms of the sort of the sample. So we're looking forward to smelling that. But we'll come to that in a second, because Linda, I want to ask or to share some questions from some of our clients that have put it to you that in front. I've got it here, so I'm gonna read it. I can't really memorize all the questions. So
fair enough.
Okay, so here's one, and this is quite a lovely question. Wait, so they're all lovely, right? Hi, Linda. I feel I know you. Okay, I'm a huge fan and lover of many of your scents and fragrances, and have been pretty much since the early days when you first opened your boutique in the Royal Arcade. So she purchased Ormonde Jayne, right? Yes. Which is quite a really, I mean, just legendary. Now, I've subsequently acquired several more of your wonderful fragrances and scents, but I'm curious to know, since I believe that you were the first perfumer to start using the oil of oud within your fragrances. What was it that first drew you to think about using oud, and in particular the way that you have? Because I know you've used it in some other, and one of them is one of my favorites, called Nawab oud. So what was it that drew you to that particular oil?
Well, it's going back to the philosophy of looking for ingredients not widely used in the perfume industry. When I came across the attar in the Middle East, I just thought, oh my God, this stinks. What the hell is this? It didn't exist in a fine fragrance. It only existed in a small bottle of oil, which is the extraction from the agar wood. But of course, I was like intrigued, and I was thinking, this needs to go into a fine fragrance. A fine fragrance, by definition, meaning like a full formulation.
With other ingredients.
A lot of ingredients come, like it's not a aromatherapy where you've got 2 or 3 natural oils and you're making up something. A fine fragrance is when you've got a combination, quite a long formulation with a combination of naturals, molecules, alcohol. It's classified as a fine fragrance. I had no idea how I was going to use it, but I was intrigued by it. I did a lot of research. I went off to Thailand, and then I took a flight to Laos, and there's an agar wood there. It's protected, and I managed to get a tour around the agar wood. And then later on, I flew back to Bangkok, and I went to this street called Nana, which is where all the oud traders are. And so it was this amazing experience, because you're in the middle of Bangkok, and then suddenly you get off at the train station Nana, literally 2 stops from the center of Bangkok, and you're in a different world. You've got all these Middle Eastern men, all the restaurants are Middle Eastern, they've got the jalabias, you've got big limousines, all the doors are locked because the oud is so expensive. And I even got to meet the lady who was the only lady who does the best distillation of the oud. And she wouldn't let me in. She wouldn't let me in to show me. She allowed me to take one photograph of me and her and a peep inside, because all the agar dealers take their wood to her, and she does the steam distillation and gives it back to them. I brought it back to London. I talked about it with a journalist. She was very interested in covering the whole story through the Financial Times, how to spend it. And I just thought at that point, I've got one perfume called Ormonde, which is our signature scent. I thought it would be amazing if I could then perhaps use the oud in the Ormonde and split them into Ormonde woman, Ormonde man. This is before I went completely gender free. So this is many, many years before that. And then I showed this attar to Gazer. He said, that stinks. What on earth do you want to do with that? And I said, 0.05%. We'll just give it something. That was the Ormonde man. That was the first fragrance in the world to use the attar oud in a fine fragrance.
The first brand to use the oud in fragrances. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. It was in keeping with what we wanted to do anyway. So, and now it's a confirmed category. So everybody, people are using oud, and it's great. I use the tiniest amount because I have clients from all over the world, and I didn't think they would actually want to smell of a perfume. But as time has gone on, it's become popular. People have got used to it. Like I said, it's a confirmed category. Then I made the Nawab of Oud. And then with the Elixir collections, I've now got a very good oud dealer who brings me the oud, Cambodian oud, very pungent. And I have it tested before we purchase it, because it's £20,000. And when it gets tested for purity, because sometimes they cut it these days. So it's a bit like drug dealers, cutting the hash. So you have to have it tested, make sure it's 100% pure, and then of course we pay him his £20,000. And so we've been using it now for a number of years. The second perfume in the world to put oud into a fine fragrance was Yves Saint Laurent M7. And now, as you know, it's a confirmed category. Everybody uses it.
Well, I've got to say, yes, for me, I do, and I'm not saying it for the sake of saying it, but because you're here, I wear a number of your fragrances. And I mean, the Nawab of Oud for me, it whispers.
It's spectacular. And the Nawab of Oud is the perfect perfume to describe Ormonde Jayne, because what you've got is a very full, complex perfume with oud, pimento, pepper, patchouli, but it's not heavy. It's complex, and you can smell every ingredient coming through. So it opens up, and that's the style of the house. That's the style of the house.
Well, when I'm wearing, particularly the initial stages, I'm walking about town, Knutsford here, and so on, or meeting people, and it's in the first hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, everyone's going. It smells incredible, but the dry down on it for me is also good. And once again, that just shows the quality of oils that you're using and ingredients and so on. But I've got another question, because we're going to run out of time very short.
Sorry.
Right. Okay. Again, another fan. One of my favorite fragrances of Ormonde Jayne is Montebacco Verano. Now, will Montebacco Verano become part of the permanent collection?
I don't know, is the answer. I'm very sorry, but so we just made 200 bottles. It was the summer version of Montebacco. It was commissioned by Harrods, sold like hotcakes. what you can do, if anybody wants to have a bottle, they could always contact customer services at Ormonde Jayne and say, I'd like a bottle of Verana. If we've got the oil in stock at our studios, we could make up a bottle easily, and just give it like maybe a week to mature and filter it and bottle it, and we could send it to them.
And it'll only cost you £100,000, whoever's looking at this one.
You can go through in touch with us, and we'll sort you out a bottle, I'm sure.
You can figure out, is that Mr. and Mrs. Pop? Yeah, I'd like a bottle of the Verana. Leave it with us. Amazing. Thank you, sir. And I've got another quick question. I know Linda's fragrances are renowned for the special ingredients, and I'd like to know what was or is the most challenging to source?
Well, do you have Privé in stock?
Yes, we do.
So the Privé has one ingredient that you cannot buy from any of the fragrance houses in Grasse or Germany or Holland. They will not stock it, which is Gardenia Absolute. Nobody wants that. People don't want to buy it because it's volatile. It could be available one year, then not available the following year. So they don't want to work with it. So if you phone up Givaudan, IFF, Firmenich, Expressions Perfume, they would say, we don't stock that. It's not in our list. So it is challenging to get hold of. When there is a harvest of Gardenia and it's been successfully extracted into an absolute, you've got lots of people wanting to buy it. So it is difficult. I've had moments where I've literally...
We're going to run out. And I'm watching.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So I've had moments where I've had to wait.
I listen to you. I'm just watching because I don't want to be, because the last question, I'm talking about ingredients. I hear you're a bit of a chef.
Yes, I am. I love cooking. If you go to my website, you've got Ormonde Jayne. So you've got ormondejayne.com, Ormonde Jayne, and it's Linda cooking with fragrances. I'm cooking all the time. I'm always planning my menu for the following week, and I've made some beautiful dishes with perfume in it. So if anybody fancies their hand, and also on that particular video, it tells you how to extract oil from the skin of oranges and lemons and limes. So if you want to make your own orange extract, pure orange oil, to put in a salad or to put in your marmalade, on this video it tells you how to do that. It's very easy.
Linda, this is another series. I need to do another interview with you online for this. But listen, all I can say is thank you. You have been an absolute delight, a real pleasure, a ray of sunshine. Thank you so much. But I've got to say, and I'm just looking at my screen here, for everybody out there, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I'm just gonna, this is all modern technology here.
I know, and thank you for having me, Peter. I'm thrilled to be back in Cheshire.
Well, listen, we're thrilled to bits to have your brand here, and I've got to say, I mean, you want to touch this. This is one of your products here. This is the Privé, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's got a very difficult material to work with, and who'd have thought Gardenia? I mean, wow! But I just love the whole thing. I mean, it's all like fabric and everything, and oh my goodness! And you open it up, and it's like a piece of jewelry. And I mean, I got to tell you, just gorgeous. It's all here at Pop, and we will beautifully gift wrap it.
That's very nice. Very impressed. Better than mine.
Oh yeah, it's nothing to do with me. It's a lovely Mel that will do wrapping, and Danielle, of course, who works with us, has not been with us because of the current global situation, which is going to get. We're getting there. We're all getting there. We will sort of, as a business, be open, observing all the rules and protecting our clients and friends that are coming to see us. And I know you're at home with doing homeschooling, and you've got children doing and you know,
they're eating me out of house. I hope you can't believe how much these children want to eat. They eat every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, they don't stop eating.
With a mum like Ormonde Jayne as a mum. I mean, come on, Linda. Sorry.
No, I was going to say they can demolish a packet of hobnobs in 5 minutes.
I think I've done the same too. But listen, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep watching our Pop Indoors, and we will be again looking to interview another guest next week from Parfum de Mali. So do watch this space. But once again, Linda, thank you. You're absolute.
Stay well, stay safe, and hope to see you soon, Peter.
Looking forward to it, darling. Take care.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.